Welcome, people. Welcome. My name's Hans, and this is What's Your Story, episode 11, Legs 11. Right, so today we have Ian on the show, and look, just to give you a wee brief, my name's Hans, I'm from New Zealand, and what I do on the show, What's Your Story, is chat to guests about some of the things that they've endured and gone through to create their strengths and move on to their successes. So with that, we've got Ian over there, or over there. I never know which way, but Ian.
I'm trying to figure out too. I'm like, because to me, if I point this way, that's where you are on my screen. Okay. Right, but I think they'll see it as that way. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So if I do that and you do that,
no, you're pointing away from me right now.
Oh, okay. So if I do that,
yeah, now
so I'm pointing away for me at the minute.
Oh, really?
But will they say, "See, this is I do this. I'm pointing at you."
Okay. I'm right now. I'm pointing at you on my screen.
Oh, okay. So if we do this, we've created our own sign.
I love it.
So that's why I do that. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So Ian, what's been happening now? We've got some shenanigans out of the way.
Yep. And I'm sure there's more to come.
Surely not. Possibly. There could be. Yeah. All right, you got me. So look, the idea of the story of the show is just to sort of get to know you and get you out there and talk about how we all go through struggles and how we all seem to have a lack of strength from time to time, but then somehow there might be a moment or there might be something going on for us that we're able to pick ourselves back up and go, right, I'm moving ahead. But anyway, that's the basis of the show. So introduce yourself. Who are you? Who are you?
Right. Who am I? Hi, guys. Well, my name is Ian Sneed, as you've already mentioned, and I'm an abundance mindset coach. I go out of my way to help entrepreneurs, freelancers, anyone that really wants to take control of their finances. And I help them shift into a lifestyle of abundance and prosperity by helping them eliminate limiting beliefs, by helping empower them to pursue whatever goal or life goal or immediate goal that they're trying to pursue so that they can live feeling fulfilled and a little more blissful. So that's what I do. I grew up in Southern California. I went to college at Cal State Long Beach, which is freaking awesome. If you guys haven't been to Long Beach, it's seriously my favorite city. I played rugby. I've played soccer. I'm a big athletics guy. I'm big into sports. I am horrible with technology. I remember the first time I ever did a blab, like I couldn't get the camera to work right on my Surface. So like it was using the back camera. And so what I did was I logged on with two different devices. One was like my Surface so that it was facing me, but I couldn't read any of the comments because I was using the back camera. So I had another device, my iPad next to me, logged on so that I could see like the comments and the people I was interacting with. And it was just, I'm always finding solutions to any problem. That's like one thing that I'm great at. And then I figured out how to solve it like long term. Yeah. So that's how I am with technology. and that's I'm giving you a little bit more of who I am, so you guys can kind of see like we're all human. We all have our strengths. We all have areas of improvement. And when you truly learn to embrace all of it, life becomes so much more fun. Like it really does.
Absolutely. And, out of what you've just said, I love it. I'm very much a sports person myself. However, I don't play rugby. Being from New Zealand, excuse me, I should, but I don't. I think it's violent.
It is aggressive. I love it.
I understand it, and I watch my my national team from time to time, the All Blacks, running around, demolishing other teams. So that it always gives me a sense of pride. But I love it. I love sports, and sports is so much a teacher in life as well. When you get in that team environment, sometimes your teammates are always pushing buttons. And it's all about you're there as a team to do a job, and that's to win, to come out with a W. So yes, very much similar on that. And also technology, I'm not the most tech savvy chap myself, so I totally understand the old flip double action maneuvers going on there.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It makes for fun experiences since technology is like in every aspect of what we do now. It just makes it a lot more adventurous for me.
Oh, that's totally right. And, myself, I work in an office job. I have an office job. And, if we didn't have the technology, like the internet, the phones, a couple of weeks ago, we went from no emails one day on 4 successive days. One day was no email. That's not too bad. Next day was no phones. It's like, ooh. The following day was no internet. And then we had no product system that we actually used to do all of our work. So,
oh, man.
It was an awesome week.
Yeah.
But by Friday, they got it all sorted, so I was happy.
Yeah.
So, Ian, tell us about you, your story. We know we bit of you, where you've come from. And, I mean, you've got a story. Everybody has a story. We all have a story. And was there any particular time in our life, in your life, that you went, I'm struggling here. I need something different. I need something more. What's your story?
My story, I guess the one that I'm going to share is interesting because a part of it is very typical of a lot of Americans. And then another part of it is very unique. So the typical part is, as I was growing up, one thing about me is I don't really pay attention to time as far as like, what year it is, what day it is, what week it is, maybe like what time it is at the moment. But like my age, I don't know how old I am. And when I was in fifth grade, however old you are in fifth grade, all right, that's how old I was when my parents separated officially. So about a year before that, there was a lot of conflict. So I come from a broken home, but then my family went through a bankruptcy and we had to move around. And I remember my brother went to live with my dad and I went to live with my mom, and we were living at an uncle's house. And then we found an apartment and then went to another aunt's house. And I've lived, by the time I was 25, I had lived in like 22 different places that I could recall. Right. So it's that's one aspect that a lot of Americans actually kind of resonate with because of the broken home, because of the bankruptcy, because of not having a stable foundation to call home. So that's one thing that's really similar that people might resonate with. But one thing that's really unique is my experience with gang life, because as there was conflict in the home, I had originally avoided the violence outside by staying home, right? I would go out and play, but like whenever things would start to get a little nasty, I would just go home. Why? Because it was safe. But eventually I didn't feel safe because there was always yelling and things flying around the house. So I decided, all right, well, I'm going to go with my friends. I'm going to stick with my friends. And that slowly led to, they embraced me like, hey, we know it's rough. Like, we got your back. Don't worry about it. When things get nasty, we'll take care of you. And with that, I fostered this loyalty to the people that would be willing to take care of me. Because I was young, I was fifth grade, however old you are at that point, and I had gangs taking care of me. And so next thing you know, by the time I'm 14, I'm at a crossroads where I either become a lifelong member of a gang, literally a blood in, blood out situation that would have taken me down a path where I'd be dead or in jail by the time I was 24, or I remove myself from that lifestyle. And I was leaning towards the blood in, blood out situation just because the environment just created that as the most logical next step. But then I saw an event that was kind of like a huge smack in the face that woke me up. And when that happened, I was like, yep, this is not for me. Like, I know I can do better in life. And I just completely pivoted and went down a positive path. So that's the unique aspect of my story.
I know your story from go to woe mostly, but it amazes me to we don't have that. Well, there is that gang life, as it were, going on over here. But all the gangs over here either look up to the gangs in America. It's just a big. It's like, I don't want to say too much because
Yeah.
but it is. I understand. I can totally understand that it's it gives you that sense of belonging and all those things. But then the things that happen in that framework. Maybe not the best moment for you, but I totally understand that.
Yeah, definitely some questionable things go down. So
yeah, definitely. So I did sneaky hear you were saying that your parents separated in fifth grade. Well, what's fifth grade? Sorry, I'm not really familiar with
it's primary. It's primary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So and that seems to be a common thing. We all go through some of the things, and myself, much the same. And you get to that point where you're like, I don't want to be around home anymore. So you go out there looking, and you come across this family unit in the gang. So totally get down with it and understand that, people go through all of these things. Different, I had various guests on who've gone from different struggles and different parts of their life that have not so much shaped them, but have impacted them at that particular moment and point. Right. And like you say, there's been a time where you were like, man, this is not for me. I don't want to be doing this. So you flip the lid and just went, I'm walking away, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, because you could really walk away. Yeah, that's. But I understand what you're saying. I totally understand.
I'm just going to shoot to the dairy, and I'll be back. Not come back.
It's like, hey guys, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go grab a Coke. Anybody want anything? Yeah. All right. What do you want? Sweet. I'll be right back. 10 minutes. Never see him again.
Yeah. 10 years later, dude, where's my Coke?
Right.
Oh. Whoops.
Oh man.
Yeah, but like you say, you mean this is not for me, and you made that decision there and then. However old you were, happy birthday anyway. It's your birthday, isn't it?
When?
I don't know. You didn't know how old you were, so it must be your birthday today.
No, I don't think it's my birthday, or else my mom would have texted me or something.
Nice. Facebook would have told you.
Actually, I have it set up so Facebook doesn't tell me. Or doesn't tell anybody. Yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice. Sorry, I was just going on there. And we do have those moments that we turn around and go, I don't want to be doing this. Or, this is not for me, or whatever it is. And we look for a solution. Mm-hmm. For you yourself, what was your solution after moving away from that lifestyle that you were living? How did you come across that? I mean, obviously you saw whatever you saw, but without going into details, what was it? Did you go, there has to be something better for me because I am not, in essence, happy?
Right. Well, I mean, the solution for me, fortunately, at that age, there's still a lot of focus on, helping people of that age group through the education system. And there was this program that I think is only in California called AVID. And that program helps students get to college. Now, I was always great at school. I never struggled. I had to make an effort to lower my grades to fit in with the people that I hung out with. So I had to strategically figure out how many assignments I could miss, what scores I could get on my tests, so that I could get a good enough grade so that no one would bug me at home, but a bad enough grade so that no one would bug me with my friends, right? It was interesting. But I was also thrown into this AVID class because that area of grades that I was in was perfect for their target student of trying to get this type of student to college. So they put me into this AVID class that focused on preparing me to go to college. So when I stepped away, the solution for me when I stepped away was not just leave gangs, but leave Riverside, get out of Riverside, because there was just too much crap going on at that point in time, and how to get out. And if anyone says like, okay, Riverside's not that bad, like if you look at San Bernardino's crime rate right now, like Riverside was like that, but they fixed it. So I knew I had to leave the city, not just that lifestyle. I had to completely remove myself. So to do that, I focused on this course, I'm going to call it, this Avid course and this class, and I focused on doing what they told me to do in order to get to college. So for them, it was like, well, first you got to get your grades up, which was easy for me because I purposely lowered them. So I raised my grades, and then they're like, okay, now you have to do community service, which is totally at that point out of my comfort zone. I'm like, okay. They said, join a sport, and all of my friends that lived near me were soccer players. So I started playing soccer, and I slowly did all the things to get myself to college. But even in my freshman year in college, I still had years and years of programming from that gang life. So I still carried a butterfly knife on me. I still carried brass knuckles on me. I still had a bat in my car and in my house, and I would carry it with me. I would walk around with a bat. I would. And I always had, even going to campus my freshman year, I had brass knuckles and a butterfly knife on me because I didn't trust anyone. But so that was the year that I really kind of eliminated the program. That was the last year that I still had a lot of that gangster mentality in me. So for me, the solution was leave Riverside, and in order to do that, go to a university. So that was my solution. But for if there's anybody that watches this and is thinking like, I'm in a really rough spot, how do I find my solution? The first thing you have to do is you have to take your emotions out of the equation. Too many people, what happens is they take their emotions and their perceived alliances to individuals or organizations into their, I don't know, decision making. You have to take that out, and you have to actually look at it in an unbiased manner, almost like you're a third party giving somebody else advice. And that's what I did when I saw that event. It wasn't just like, oh no, if I had stayed emotionally attached, I would have kept going down the path I was going. But instead I stopped, I removed emotions, and I looked at both situations, and I said, this is going to lead me to something horrible. This is going to lead me to something great. Even though all of the people that I really cared about and were there would literally take a bullet for me or shoot a bullet for me, were down this path, I knew that it wasn't the right decision. But if I had kept that emotional connection to those people, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have kept going down that path. So the first step for anyone that is having that real rough situation is take the emotions out of it and look at it objectively. Look at your situation objectively. And when you can do that, you can start thinking outside the box. Okay, well, here's one problem. How can I fix that? Here's another problem. How can I fix that? And before you know it, you have a whole action plan of how to remove yourself from a negative situation in life so that you can actually prosper. So that's just a tip that I wanted to share.
That's a great tip, and so often, even myself, we get comfortable with our comfort zone, and that's, I guess, that's what they call it. But you're like, oh, I don't want to be going out and stepping outside of something that you're familiar with and something that gives you a sense of belonging, and everybody, your entire environment is that particular situation. So right. You want to stay there. So, and like you say, you need to kind of step back and go, is this the right spot for me? We'll go back to your previous life where you looked at yourself and you stood back and went, oh, I don't want to be going down this way. I want to be heading this way to college and to education and da-da-da-da-da. Right. And so you took that step back and went, I'm sorry, guys, but this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so, and that is such a hard decision to make at times. You've got your friends, you've got your family, you've got your followers, you've got you basically everybody that everything that you are comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And you have to you've got to turn your back on it and walk in a direction that you feel or within yourself mm-hmm. that is the best decision for you. And, and that's a hard decision to make, It's it's definitely not easy.
Right, especially with gangs, because with gangs, like you're not just walking away from it, like you're getting beat as you walk away from it repeatedly, like over a course of time, like you're going to get beat. It's almost like a punishment for leaving. Fortunately, I wasn't at a point where the only way to get out was through death. I wasn't at that point, but that doesn't mean I didn't take multiple beatings because of of my decision. So it wasn't just turning my back on people. It wasn't just all of that. It was, now I know, on top of all this mental and emotional like stuff I have to deal with to eliminate that, I have to take a physical punishment as well. That's going to last, I don't even know how long. So there was that aspect too. So that made it that much harder to walk away. But it happened.
Yeah,
so.
It does. Hey, look, let's just flip the script a little bit. I love to add those words that I hear on American television all the time.
Yeah.
Purely because New Zealand television is rubbish. Actually, I don't watch a lot of TV. I did ask you earlier if you had a sneaky, what do you call it? An item.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an item?
I have,
secret item.
I have 3.
Oh,
well, you said 3.
Alert.
You said 3, right?
I did. Okay. Just give us one of those items. And then
Okay. One of those items, and this is going to be really silly, but one of those items that's special to me, right? That has a meaning of some sort.
Oh.
My watch. And it's funny because remember I said I don't like time, right? I don't pay attention to the month, the day, the year, how old I am, nothing. But this is extremely special to me because of what it represents. So yeah, it keeps me on point as far as where I am throughout the day. But when I was in college, a lot of my development came from my fraternity. There's a lot of self-made millionaires in that organization that have created multiple leadership academies, and because of the situation I was in, I was able to get into those leadership academies rather easily. And they, went out of their way to make connections with the undergraduate students and teach us different skills. And I remember one of them mentioned, he goes, look at everyone here that is worth $1 million or more. And you looked around the room and every single one of them had a watch. He goes, look at all the people that aren't worth that much. None of them had a watch. And he goes, why do you think that is? And then he gave us a whole lesson on what wearing a watch and having a watch really means. So ever since then, I always have a watch. And this is the first watch that I bought with like my own money. Like when I went and I got a job and like a day job and I had income coming in, this is the first watch that I bought. Still working, still ticking, still looking good. I still use it to this day. So
that's an awesome story. I love that. And I've actually wondered myself, why does everyone wear watches? Because I was never a watch person. Never. I was just like, I know what the time is. If I need to find the time, I look at the computer or whatever it might be.
Right.
So I've only just recently started wearing a watch myself, and that's purely to keep myself on point, as you say. And it works. Just like, what's the time? I've got to be here, and you can set up reminders and blah blah blah. So I love your story of why you came about having a watch.
Yeah. Thank you.
and it also gives you a sense of urgency as well about what you need to be doing, whatever it might be. So.
Yeah, and at the same time, I have that psychological anchor that says people that wear watches are millionaires or better. I'm wearing a watch. I deserve to be a millionaire or better. So I also have that mental anchor that's attached to it. So every time I wear a watch, I know it's like, let's get to it.
Yeah, it's business time.
Exactly.
I like that. It's that subconscious, the many books that we all read. It's about applying these things to you now and for future gatherings of bringing things. The law of attraction, that's the word I was looking for, the law of attraction.
Yeah, so, I mean, law of attraction does kind of play into it. So, and that's essentially what I do as a coach is I bring law of attraction techniques and NLP techniques together to make the esoteric much more practical. And so I could break that watch down like a million times so that people really understand how it's using the law of attraction and how it's using NLP together. And seriously, it'll blow people's minds. Like if I break it down, be like, look, like this one thing can make you a millionaire. They're going to be like, how? I'm like, just watch.
Yeah.
literally just watch. Oh, do you get it?
I like that. Sorry, you said NLP. What's NLP? Was that the letters you used?
Yes, NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. It's essentially, how do I describe it? It's the best form of psychological techniques used to create habit change within an individual. So there's different things of, one thing it's called meta modeling. It's the fastest way to get to the root problem that is present, right? So whenever there's a disagreement, there's really one root problem that's creating that disagreement. That root problem maybe they have different definitions of a word that they keep using. That root problem may be maybe it's a lack of trust, maybe it's a lack of value that one person feels the other one is giving. Whatever it is, there's a specific way to get to that root problem, right? And then there's also like Milton modeling, which is using your language in such a way that it bypasses your conscious thinking brain and influences the subconscious mind in such a way that you become much more empowered much faster. And then, of course, there's also other techniques like anchoring, which is like the watch. Or, have you ever smelled something and it immediately reminded you of either someone you loved or a time in your life that was like really good? That's that's an anchor. But using your smell. Same with a song. Sometimes you hear one song that just like always puts you in a great mood because it reminds you of this one memory, or maybe it reminds you of this one time in life. Like that's an auditory anchor, right? So we have things like that. One of my favorite anchors, it's actually like a movement that I do. It's back when I worked at Starbucks, and I call this my Starbucks mode. Back when I worked at Starbucks, I was, I started working there to get out of my shell and learn how to interact with people. And I remember I would go into the office before my shift would start, and I'd sit down and I'd be super chill, like just chilling, because I still kind of had that gangster vibe going, right? And I was like, all right, I got this, right? And right when it came time to clock on, I would put my apron on, and then I would look out at the floor. I'm like, let's do this. And I would put my hat on, and I'd be like, bam. And I would do that every single time. Let's go, right? And so now, whenever I want to get like in a really great mood, like I can already feel it. Whenever I want to get in a really great mood, I'm just like, all right, let's go. And it's just like, ooh, I get into my Starbucks mode. It makes me super upbeat, super like I'll sing, I'll dance, I'll do whatever it takes just to make sure that everyone around me is having a good time. I call that my Starbucks mode. But the anchor is this movement, right? So for some people, it's snapping. When they need to remember something, what do? They snap, right? That's an anchor. And we all use them naturally as humans. We all use them. But NLP empowers you to use them in a way that's going to benefit your life.
Ooh, I'm going to research that. I'm going to apply some of that for me. I like that already. Definitely. The anchors and whatnot. Excellent. Thanks for that. So, we've talked about your history, a portion of your history. We've talked about your education. What made you decide to venture into this life of abundance coach and prosperity? How was that transition made for you? And is it something that you consciously made that decision to go about and target that particular lifestyle that you wanted? How did that all come about?
That's a really interesting question. It was really like a natural progression of how my life has gone. But when you reflect on it, it's almost like all the rough times in my life were what I call contrast, which is the things that you don't want, right? I don't want violence daily. I don't want to hear people yelling and throwing stuff at each other inside the house and threatening each other's lives and things like that. I don't want to feel fear. I don't want to be bankrupt and moving around and not having a house. Like there's all these different things that I didn't want, right? So that's the contrast part. And when I made that one decision to change, I started looking at the things that I do want, right? And because of that, I started essentially creating a path or a journey of personal development. And I remember at first it was just get to college, but my first year in college, I had a professor that I had him for 2 different philosophy classes. And in each one, he had us read a different personal development book. And those personal development books made me realize, wow, I really need to work on me in order to be the person that I really want to be, to have the kind of life I really want to have. And so those first 2 books were the first 2 personal development books that put me on the path of self-improvement. And while on this path of self-improvement, I'm looking at, once you get into that realm, you realize, wow, there's a lot of information out there that can help. So I just kind of would read a little bit about somebody and be like, okay, what they're saying feels right. I'm going to read more about what they're saying. Sometimes people, you read a little bit of what they're saying, you're like, that doesn't really feel right to me. So I would go around and find different authors, different experts, different lecturers, whoever that felt great. And when I found someone like that, I would go out of my way to make sure that I consumed their information. And when it comes to the abundance part, Abraham Hicks, which is anyone that knows law of attraction or has seen The Secret is based off of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, right? And so Abraham Hicks teaches law of attraction and vibration and energy and all these kind of things, and how to influence it and how to deliberately create the life that you want. So I started consuming their information repeatedly, and I recognized that they weren't teaching me stuff I didn't know. They were more so reminding me of things that I could see were true. And it wasn't just like a knowing, like when they would say it, it was almost like, I know that that's true. How come no one's ever said it like that? That's exactly true. And then because of that, I would hear people kind of using the opposite, right? Using the opposite logic of what they were saying. And I was like, okay, let me see something. And I started off asking somebody like, hey, is it okay if I challenge that? They're like, challenge what? That belief. What belief? See, you just said this phrase, right? And when you say this phrase, here's what you're implying. And they're like, yeah, I don't really like that. When you point it out like that, I don't really like that. I was like, okay, well, let me see if we can work around it and see how you really feel. And then I would kind of ask them questions where they would come to the realization that, this law of attraction, this abundance mindset was their natural way of life. And for some reason, they've been living in a completely different way because of the social conditioning. That's what it was. They just didn't know it. And so when I saw, I was like, wow, I can really help people by kind of helping them remember how to live life effectively, efficiently, blissfully, joyfully, and energetically in a positive way. That essentially, it kind of woke me up. That's really what I want to say. It woke me up to my passion and my purpose of helping people realize that that's what they deserve, is an effortless and natural life full of abundance, prosperity, joy.
Nice. That, I was, as you were saying, people, there's a lot of material out there for everybody to consume on the internet, on the interwebs. It's anywhere, everywhere. And so often, if you watch something and I watch something, you'll take something different and I'll take something different. And so, and I listen to the same stuff repeatedly quite often. And the other day I was sitting there listening to Les Brown. He was talking about the courage of stepping out and all that sort of whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've been listening to it for a long time, and he said a phrase, and I was just like, all of a sudden I was just like, ding. I was like, oh, is that what he means by that? Yeah. And then and to be able to have those moments where you're like, oh, so that's what you mean. So that's how. Is it that, having someone else say something in a different way, in a different manner, sort of flicks that light bulb on for you, and you're like, oh, right, so now I get it. And then you can sort of move on to the next step or the next progression in the story or whatever you're doing or pursuing.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And
carry on.
Okay. And that's why a lot of people say, like, you don't just read a book once, you read it multiple times, because each time you get something different out of it, right? Like Les Brown, as soon as you said, I kind of listen to the same stuff every day, I'm like, yeah, I used to do that a lot with Les Brown. And you're like, Les Brown. I'm like, perfect. But the thing is, the reason I am so good at helping people is because if people haven't learned this information, then I'm already presenting it in a way that's easy to understand, or helping them understand it in a much more efficient way for whoever they are and wherever they are in life, right? But if they've already heard this information, chances are they don't exactly know how to use it. They don't exactly know how to apply it, because the language that Abraham Hicks uses is very kind of broad. And what I do is I take that broad information and I narrow it down, and I make it very specific to the person that's in front of me. And by doing that, that person ends up hearing it in a way that they understand, because it's specified for them, and that is what really empowers them.
Mm. I think because you're speaking directly to them as opposed to a broad, you go to a seminar and the guy's there talking in a general purpose to everybody. But when you have those one-on-one situations and you're speaking about the same stuff, and you can point it or direct it at someone there and then, it gives that more personable application to their lives, and they will take it on a little bit easier and understand it a lot more at a deeper level.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. I also want to add that you can still address a large audience and make it specific to every individual in there by asking the right kinds of questions. Because a lot of times when people present as keynote speakers, they're giving general information that's motivational, that's maybe informational, but if you do it in a way that's reflective, so that the audience is reflecting as they're learning, then what happens is they start to put all the pieces that you're sharing together as you move forward through the conversation, as it applies in their personal life at that moment. So you can still make it specific, but it will be more powerful in a one-on-one situation. But you can still make it specific to a large audience. And I have the skills to do that, and I love speaking to audiences. So if you're out there and you want to hire me, like, hey,
well, let's
feel free to reach out.
Let's get to that. How do we get a hold of you? How do the viewers out there find you? And they're like, hey, I like you, and I like what he has to say. Let's get in contact. How do we do that? Well, they do that.
Yeah, well, the easiest way would be to email me, info@iansneed.com, and I'll type it into the thing here. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, right? The next easiest way is to actually join my inner circle. People have told me to do this for the longest time, and finally it feels about the right time to go out and do this. I'm creating like an inner circle where I give regular content to help people make these shifts, to help people reflect in the right way, to help advance people into prosperity faster, through a Facebook group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a link. If anyone wants to join that, I'm going to share a link where you click on this link and it'll add you. Well, and you can request to be added to this group, to this inner circle. So if you want to be part of that inner circle where, you don't have to hire me as a coach, but you can still get my regular content that's going to positively affect your life, then go to bit.ly/BMS. Those 3 letters are capital. BMS group. All of those letters are lowercase. So BMS group. And that's another way that you can get a hold of me, because you can, once you're added in the group, it'll be easier to message me. You can comment, you can post on the wall, and I'll get back to you, and I'll reach out to you and see how I can help you, because my whole purpose is to serve. I just want to help honestly, I want to help as many people as possible in every way possible. So this inner circle is one way to reach out and really kind of take advantage of free resources.
Nice. I like that. And setting up a wee. You guys use the term "wee"? A small.
Group. Wee isn't tiny.
Yeah. Wee, like.
Yeah.
Setting up a small group like that will be beneficial. I'm a part of a couple myself, and like for all those viewers watching for later on, they are the best, and I'll be tracking your one down as well.
Awesome.
It's definitely adding value into someone else's life is amazing, and to be able to do that, Ian, I'll give you a prop.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Props to that. So, look, Ian, we're coming to the end of the show, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge and your story, because look, you have an amazing story, and it just goes to show that not everybody has a limelight life to start off with, but we can make it a success. Yep. And exactly, coming from one side of the street to the other, you've proven that. So, but I do like to finish my show with something random. Yeah,
Okay.
I know you've got 2 more items here, and you can just put those aside. You can share them if you want to.
Okay.
Definitely, you can share them if you feel.
Um,
It's totally up to
all
you.
right.
Go on then.
I'll share one of them.
All right.
These are bracelets. So this one kind of is supposed to bring out like the warrior spirit within you, and I'm very much like a warrior kind of a person, right? So I love that. But these 2 were special gifts. One of these is made out of Tibetan clay. So it came from like a Tibetan monastery. It took 3 weeks to get the clay from that monastery down to a place where it could actually ship to the US, right? 3 weeks on a donkey. Like they had to carry it on a donkey. So like the fact that I have this is crazy because it's so rare and so hard to get, right? And it's supposed to help with wealth and positive vibrations. And then this one is a prosperity bracelet, also a gift from a very special person. So that's the other thing I was gonna pull out is my bracelets. And then the third one is this book, Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. If you haven't read any of Napoleon Hill's stuff, definitely do it. All right. So those are the 3 things that I had.
I haven't heard of that book of Napoleon. I've heard of a lot of his other ones, but
yeah. Well, this is like as JC described it to me. He goes, "That's like Think and Grow Rich, like on steroids." So.
Oh wow! Okay. I'm going to track that bad boy down.
Definitely do it.
All right. So thank you for that. And look, let's finish up with a couple of things. We will finish off with. I keep my phone out because I have a wee game.
Okay.
A wee game just for you, my friend. It was small. So it's called. I call it the 10-second game.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and you can enlighten me with your answers.
Sounds good.
9 answers.
9 answers. I have to give you 9 answers for one question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see how it goes.
So I'll just turn the volume up on my thing. So I'm about to bust out the question. I'll read the question, and then I'll start the timer.
Okay. Sounds good.
I need an intro for this. 10-second game.
You need to get like a little paper where you're like, it's a 10-second game, and then
yeah. I'm gonna do that.
Fun.
I'll work that out. All right, so here we go. Name 10 cartoon characters.
Bugs Bunny, Winnie the Pooh, Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Sonic the Hedgehog. Is that time?
It's time.
I got 6.
You got 6. I thought you were gonna kill it. I was like, Bugs Bunny. He's totally into that old school mode, and then you just.
Oh man, I could have done.
Oh.
Yeah, I could have. Well, I don't know, man. I was like, oh crap, what are their names? Because I don't really watch like TV, so that was rough.
Thanks.
I was like, crap. I was gonna do Wolverine, Tom and Jerry.
The other ones.
I know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Ian. Another part of the show is I like for you to have the last word. Any a saying or something that you want to put out there.
All right. Well, I think one of my favorite sayings is a quote that I attribute to James Dean because that's who I heard it from. That says, "Dream as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die today." And the reason I always share that quote is because of how impactful it can truly be. Because if you dream as if you'll live forever, you're going to dream big because you're going to think, well, I have all this time to accomplish all of my goals and dreams in life. I'm going to get to travel the world. I'm going to get to, build businesses that can give me unlimited income for the rest of my life. I'm going to be able to build the best relationships with people. Like you're never going to feel limited. You're going to feel like abundant in options that can help you be abundant in different areas of your life, right? Now, the second part of that quote is live as if you'll die today. What if you only had today to accomplish all of those goals and dreams, right? If you only had today to accomplish all those goals and dreams, wouldn't you take massive action right now? Wouldn't you go out and actually experience at least some of those things right now? And a lot of people, they complicate life. They complicate life and say, oh, I have to do A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then I can enjoy my life. No. The whole point is to enjoy your life right now as you're doing A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? So dream as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die today.
Nice. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for being on the
My
show.
pleasure.
And look, we'll just wrap it up, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is What's Your Story? My name's Hans. That was Ian. And we will see you next time on What's Your Story?